So our second topic of the podcast is Twitter and its legacy verification going away. So if you're not familiar, Twitter has always had, even prior to the purchase by Elon Musk, the ability to be verified. Generally, this was done by a team. It was very secretive, but you could kind of hope and send in an application that you would get a blue check mark to show that you were actually the person that your Twitter handle said you were. Ever since the purchase, that whole verification system has kind of been thrown in disarray. There has been a lot of talk about the potential of changing that, including paying for Twitter Blue to get a check mark for anyone, not necessarily just people who are notable in the community, like journalists or YouTubers or just people who are well known, but also the ability to get different colored check marks that mean different things. Now, that didn't affect legacy verification. So people who were verified before still had their blue check marks to show that they were who they say they were, but it was a lot less useful because there were so many blue check marks floating around out there, and we did see instances of people pretending like they were other people, and some of those accounts got banned. But on April 1st, Twitter will be winding down their verification policy. This comes directly from their official verified Twitter account. They state, on April 1st, we will begin winding down our legacy verified program and removing legacy verified checkmarks. To keep your blue checkmark on Twitter, individuals can sign up for Twitter Blue here, and it sends a link to the Twitter Blue, and then organizations can sign up for Twitter verified organizations, and then there's a separate link. And this is important because they are two completely different systems, and I use completely in air quotes because they are kind of the same, they just cost completely different amounts. But this is interesting because I think a lot of people may have assumed that if they were already verified, their verification would stick, and maybe they didn't have to pay the $8 Twitter Blue subscription fee, but it looks like that won't be the case. And then also, it's going to be interesting to see how they differentiate between organizations and individuals. I know that organizations do have a little bit extra features, and I want to stress a little bit. I'll actually read it right here. When you go into the feature section, this is all that it says. Twitter verified organizations elevates and distinguishes organizations and their affiliates on Twitter. Gold and gray checkmarks, square avatars, and custom affiliation badges verify and differentiate you and your entity's main account. Spokespeople and subsidiary accounts. We will continue to improve our service and change our features from time to time. Also in the feature section, it says, and this is a feature, Twitter reserves the right to, without notice, to remove your checkmark and or any other badging at any time at its sole discretion. So I don't know how that's a feature, the ability to have your checkmarks removed, but I think this is interesting. What this means is that the main feature of organizations is that you will pay a fee, a monthly fee, which is $1,000 a month, but then you can also pay an extra $50 a month for subsidiary accounts that are under that organization. That's really the main feature of that organization account. And it makes me wonder if they will force users that are maybe a part of a larger organization to get an organization account and thus have to pay $1,000 a month, which is ridiculous. I don't know how many people can afford that. Although I'm sure Oreo and whatever Lay's chips can afford that. But it'll just be interesting to see where they draw the line at the subscription. But yeah, I'm just curious to get your opinion on how you feel about legacy verification going away. And do you think it really matters all that much, considering that there are blue check marks everywhere now because people just pay for them?
I think it does matter because at least if you were verified before Elon bought it, because I feel like as mysterious as the verification process was before, I felt like it meant more than once Elon bought it and brought on his paid verification.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that at least if you were verified before, that should remain at the base level. You shouldn't have to pay for that anymore, or you shouldn't have to pay for that to continue to be verified.
Yeah.
An interesting comment about all of this. So Elon Musk said before that the old form of verification was corrupt on Twitter. So how do you end corruption? You involve money, of course, because everyone knows more money is the solution to corruption, right? That makes sense. So I think paid verification, I've said, is stupid. And, part of one of the reasons why everyone was saying is, he's doing his paid verification, Twitter Blue, so that he can make back some of the money that he owes banks and he owes everyone. And at $8 a month, it's like, well, you don't have enough users on Twitter and you aren't going to have enough people paying for it to equal however many billions you owe. And then I hear about the $1,000 a month from companies. And it's like, oh, that's how you're actually planning to make up your money. Because, $8 a month is pennies compared to what he owes. So $1,000 per organization makes a lot more sense. $50 per affiliate sub account makes a lot more sense. It's still ridiculously too much. I don't think companies should be paying that. Of course, they're going to pay it, and they have plenty of money, as you mentioned, Oreo, Lay's, whoever, they have the money for that.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's charging them for that it's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, I don't know if it's going to come to more platforms. I'm assuming it's going to, right? We've already seen that Meta, Facebook, Instagram have started copying Twitter with the paid verifications. Maybe they'll add another program in for their organizations that are verified also, and then maybe that'll be $2,000.
Yeah.
But I still think it's wrong to pay to verify that you are who you say you are, because that just means that if someone's willing to pay more than you, then technically they get to be you more than you are, in a way. Or like if someone has, I don't know, maybe 10,000 followers and they just fundamentally don't want to pay the $8 in order to have a blue check mark, and someone has 100 followers and they say, hey, I'm going to pay $8 and I'm going to make my name the same as yours. Does that mean that they're the verified version of you or the verified spoof account of you? And yeah, it's just, I think it causes more corruption, but hey, I'm not Elon Musk.
I think that's a really interesting point, because I don't know. I differ slightly in that I kind of liked Meta's version of verification. I thought the idea of actually going through and verifying people was a huge step up. And I do think that if people are going to do that, that's labor, right? There should probably be some kind of money that changes hands. But I do completely agree with you. Twitter's version of verification is not really verification. They're just giving you a blue check mark. It's kind of like how we used to talk about NFTs of like, oh, you're just selling a picture and expecting it to be worth a lot more. You're literally just selling a picture of a blue check mark without any due diligence. And that's how this system kind of started out, right? There was a lot of people imitating Elon Musk, and sure, those accounts got banned and you're like, oh, you're not allowed to do this. But saying you're not allowed to do it, but also not doing anything to really stop it, but yet asking people to pay for it doesn't make much sense. The one thing I will say is, so the one big differentiating factor now is the difference between circular and square profile images. So for example, Twitter, which is a verified organization, has a square Twitter image, and that gives it a completely different look from the average user. For example, a verified user will have a circular image as a profile picture. And why I think that matters is that now lends to the little bit of credibility of what kind of organization you're dealing with. So it adds that readability of like, okay, this is a square image. That means I'm dealing with a legitimate organization. Does this now force, because now verification can just go to anybody and can mean absolutely anything. Like if you look under the post that Twitter made about this change of legacy verification going away on April 1st, you can see that almost every single person underneath that in the top version of those comments is verified. I have no idea who any of those people are. They are just randoms. So that verification doesn't mean anything. But if one of them maybe had a square profile image, maybe that could dictate that, okay, this is a journalist or this is an organization that you should trust. So now does that mean that more people, in order to be seen as like a legitimate person, need to now pay the $1,000 a month to actually seem legitimate because anybody can pay $8 a month? I don't know. Maybe that's what they planned from all along. But yeah, I guess that just, it begs the question of how they dictate what counts as an organization and who they're going to push to pay the $1,000 a month for. And maybe that does help them make back a little bit of the money that Elon spent. But yeah, it's just, it's a mess, honestly. I think verification has kind of been destroyed in a way. It doesn't really make much sense. I don't use Twitter much, but just reading these statements from the official Twitter account and seeing the replies, it makes me realize that I don't know what this verification means, because there's so many accounts there that claim to be verified, but they don't really seem to be anyone of note. Which goes back to your original point of like, oh yeah, the verification needed to change because of corruption. I mean, is this not more corrupt if it's just anybody now? But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's it kind of makes you wonder where this is gonna go. Like right now, there's different tiers of verification essentially, right? There's a blue check mark, there's a gray, there's a gold check mark where you have a different a different icon. Is there gonna be another level above that where you pay $10,000 a month and I don't know, you get a star for your icon instead and you get a purple color check mark? Like it doesn't like yeah, it's kind of you raise a good question. Where are they going to draw the line? Like, how big do you have to be until Twitter says, okay, no, you're an organization. You have to pay us $1,000 a month. You have to do that in order to get this gold check mark so people know you're an organization,
Hmm.
right? Because governments technically don't have to. Governments are, I guess, a different kind of organization. I'm not sure if they still pay the $1,000 a month, but they get gray check marks instead of gold check marks. Gold check marks are just for companies, you know, those sorts of organizations. But you brought up a good point when it comes to news sources, right? So, like 9 to 5 Mac, which is the website that I get a lot of info from, I'm sure you get some info from too. They have a square icon, they have a gold check mark. All right, yeah, that makes sense. They're a decently big organization. But 9 to 5 Google, I'm not sure if it's the same company, but a very similar organization, they have a blue check mark
Hmm.
and they have a circle. Uh, Todd B, who's like the main, I don't know, person when it comes to YouTube and the algorithm. Like he works for YouTube on the algorithm. He has no check marks. And it's kind of like, okay, how credible are these different sources or these different levels of people? Like you see some, and what, you know, this is one common thing, right? Like celebrities were typically the people before Elon who needed to be verified because those were the people who got impersonated the most, impersonated the easiest. So you need to verify those people so that their fans can't be taken advantage of,
Hmm.
right? But now is a celebrity more credible if they have a gold check mark than if they have a gray check mark or if they have a blue check mark? Because I've seen like all examples of celebrities or people that you would think are an individual and they all of a sudden have a gold check mark with a square icon. It's like, all right, is this the actual celebrity or is this like they're calling themselves a brand now?
Yeah.
Or they just want to pay $1,000 so that they look different compared to all the other celebrities out there? Like, yeah, it's as you said, verification is broken now, especially on Twitter. Maybe not as much around the rest of the web, but especially on Twitter, verification is kind of broken now.
Well, and also speaking to your whole corruption thing, there is also the not often stated that Twitter Blue subscription gives you priority in replies, so you get higher up on the list if you are a Twitter Blue subscriber. There doesn't seem to be much mention of that in the feature section of the organizational version of Twitter Blue, but maybe there's some things hidden behind the scenes where you get even a higher, uh, you know, I guess listing in Twitter replies and maybe even in the explore page and stuff like that, where essentially these organizations can pay to get more favorable placement on the Twitter website. And if that's happening, there doesn't really seem to be much communication about that. And you would have to imagine that that is happening because that's also happening with just regular Twitter Blue subscriptions. So it's really weird, and it just goes the idea of saying something was corrupt and then using this as the method of fixing it seems to be a bit of hypocrisy, honestly, in a lot of
Yep.
ways.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. It's too corrupt, so we have to make it more corrupt in order to fix the corruption.